Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Run Live, episode 601. So exciting. All right, I'm just making sure that this is working. We're not going to talk about my hair. Okay, not talking about the hair. There's a notification. All right, I know that we're live, so that's great. And I know that we are working, because we all know that sometimes Facebook doesn't always record my stuff. It doesn't always go live, which is really freaking weird. It's so weird when that happens. Anyway, that is enough waffling. What I wanted to talk to you about today is new program creation tips. So I was up this morning for my 6 a.m. call, and the people who were due to come on had messaged me to say that they were not coming on this morning. So I was sitting here and I was typing up, I was just doing some stuff, and I've just gone like, I almost had like this, lightning bolt kind of like go through my brain, just going like, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what's that? So I quickly grabbed out my trusty old journal and I started jotting down some stuff. And this is how I've pretty much how I've created all my programs for years and years and years. Well, not all many of my programs for years have come through as an idea off the back of conversations that I've had with people, or I might be journaling, or something has just kind of gone like, this is what you need to do next. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm all for following intuition. I'm all for listening and following the signs. And I'm all for making sure that we are listening to what you guys are telling me that you want to learn, what you need. So I sat down and I went through my process, and I've been sitting in the hairdressers this morning for hours. Which is a whole other story for a whole other day. But what I was thinking about is like, I'm really excited to get home and, start working on this thing. And sometimes, when you have some ideas and it might feel like it's really kind of hard to get the idea out, or to get the kind of like the fabric of what you want to say and what you want to do and how you want to make that work. And it can be hard to make all of that stuff, actually get out. So we don't want you to feel congested. We don't want you to feel stuck. We don't want you to feel like it's all really, really hard, right? Because, when it's feeling really hard, that's when it's really hard for you to actually go, all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. This is how I want to create it. So what I thought I would share with you today is how I've made it as kind of as easy as I possibly can, I suppose, in order for you to follow some similar steps. So the first thing that you want to do is, I guess, when you have this lightning bolt of an idea, the first thing you want to do is open up a Word document, or open up your journal, even better, and sit down and go, all right, what is this thing that I've just had this idea of? Like, why did it come to you? And you can kind of like almost like rewind back through the source of where this idea came from, if you like. It might have been from a conversation. It could have been from a dream. It could have been just from something that you feel like you want or need, whatever it might be. So for me, it's like, I was like, all right, well, I've got this idea. And I just started writing down. And actually part of the reason for this is off the back of a dream that I had last night. And I was like, that was a really interesting dream. I kind of like wonder what that was trying to tell me. But it wasn't until after I'd started jotting down some points that I remembered the dream. So I think there's, something in that as well. So here's a process for making your program creation process really easy. This could be the same way that you might write a book or a workshop or whatever. So I think this is how it happened for me the first time. I remember sitting on a plane, and there's something about being kind of disconnected from all of the different things, and in terms of technology and maybe not having a computer there or whatever. So this idea, I remember traveling to the Gold Coast from Melbourne, going back in 2014 or 2015, sitting on the plane, and I've been lamenting in my head about, hey Janine, how are you? Been lamenting in my head about how I didn't want to continue to continue teaching, this is how you create a Facebook ad, right? I was quite well known in the industry for being the person that you would talk to about building a funnel or creating a Facebook ad and, all of the sales processes and everything else that came along with that. And I was like, I don't want to freaking do that anymore. I don't want to teach the mechanical, like press this button, press this button, press this button type process. So I was like, screw that. I want to do something completely different. And literally I had opened up my laptop on this flight and I started just kind of like, anything that came into my head came out of my fingers into the keyboard and onto the computer. And I created this program called Reinvention Alchemy. And it was kind of like it was like really 7 big steps to go through when it's time for you to reinvent yourself, make a change, do something different. And I felt like this is something that I felt like I really needed at that time for my own personal business, not something that I necessarily wanted to teach. So I was like, well, how would you reinvent yourself? And I jotted down all of these steps and I was like, okay, this is really cool. So getting your idea down in as many dot points as possible is really important. Step number 2 is like, all right, well, how will this help the people get what they want? Right? So as I was journaling this morning, I'm like, all right, so, I've got this idea. It's really kind of cool. How is this going to help you guys achieve your goals? What are your goals? What do you want? And, it's like, I ponder on that all the time, actually, in order to really get this down. So for you, when you're creating something new or you're trying to tease out an idea that you might have in your head, and it's like, all right, well, how would this help your people get what they want, right? Is it freedom, choice, flexibility, lifestyle, money, weight loss, confidence, clarity, excitement, joy, love, connection, whatever it happens to be, what is it that your people really, really want? Yeah. And I'm sure that if you've had this idea come through and you've got all of your programs sort of like mapped out in dot points, then that that's going to help get your people what they want, right? So that becomes the vehicle for that. This third step is knowing what problems this thing that you want to create, what problems is this going to solve? Now, if you've got a niche that, and you should all have a really kind of very tight little niche, the thing that you want to be thinking about with this, like what problems will it solve, that there's going to be similar problems for probably all of your programs, right? That you identify and that you solve. But different people, like your thing might be helping people who are hungry, right? Be not hungry, right? So they're feeling satisfied, they're feeling full, they're feeling nourished, yeah? You might have a few different ways of doing that. So this program doesn't need to be completely different to anything else that you've ever created. There might be some crossover and there might be some similarities. Or you might pick a problem like getting yourself out there, for example. The problem that a lot of people have is lack of visibility. And the reason that they're not putting themselves out there is that they get worried about losing their words. They get worried about what other people are going to say. They get worried about imposter syndrome. They think they don't know enough. They think they're not qualified enough. Like a lot of this stuff can kind of ripple through, or they just don't quite know how to do it. Yeah. And so all of those problems, I could use Facebook ads to help address that problem. I wrote visible, which helps address that problem. I've written into the spotlight, which helps address those problems. But there's, most of the programs that I've run over the last 11 years have addressed the problems of lack of visibility, not feeling confident, not knowing how to stay on message and that kind of thing. It's just pulling together different things that are going to excite and motivate and inspire your audience in a different way. Because I might go and put up one program this week, for example, and you might be like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool, but it's not quite right. And yet, like in a month's time or 2 months' time, I might go and launch another program that might address similar problems, but you're like, yes, that is the program for me because of maybe what I called it or the curriculum or the way that it's delivered or whatever the case might be. And also you might be more ready when that next one comes out. So you've got to know the problems that you're solving. The fourth thing is knowing what it is that you are actually going to talk about. Now, one of the things that and to me, these are like your subjects. Like, these are kind of cool. These are fun things. So when we're talking about marketing, you know, some of the things that we'll look at is human behavior. We look at personality profiles. We look at learning behaviors. We look at developing a social media strategy. We look at how to tap into this beautiful infinite source of energy and creativity, right? So all of those things would be like intuition, content creation, how to write a book. I might, you know, and then you can just keep dot pointing, what you talk about. And then, so step 5 is, all right, how long do you want to run this program for? So, and then it might be, it's about what feels right for you. It might be 5 days. It might be over 2 days. It might be 3 weeks. It might be 6 months. It might be 12 months. But it's up to you. Like, you get to create whatever it is that you want. You get to invent whatever it is you want. That's the coolest thing about this process, is that if you're sitting there going like, oh my gosh, like this is all the stuff that I want to talk about, then I really know that people are going to need to follow this through for like a good 4 weeks, for instance, or like 8 weeks, or, you know, I really need to be in their corner for a good 6 months. Yeah. Then you can get into what do you want to call it? And then you could get into how will you price it. So I'm going to put these in the show notes after so that you can refer back to these at the end of the coffee run as well. So get the idea down in as many dot points as you can. How will this help people get what they want? What problems will it solve for them? What specifically are you going to talk about? How long do you want to run it for? What do you want to call it? And how will you price it? So they're the 7 main steps, okay? 7 main steps to new program creation. So once you've got all of that down, and it can literally be over the space of like 2 pages, which is what I've kind of done today. There's a little bit more that I need to flesh out. And it's like, all right, that's really cool. Now I know when I've journaled on something like this and I've got everything down and I'm just like that's the best way I can explain it, right? It's this whoosh kind of like feeling where it's like, yeah, this would be amazing. This would be so fun to run. This would be so fun to launch. I can kind of get a bit of an idea about what the branding is going to look like. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to be really ace. This is going to be fun. That's when I know I'm onto something that's going to be really helpful. That's when I know it's something that's going to sell. That's when I know it's something that people are going to be excited by, because I can be really like, yes. The important thing from there is to get it out of you and get it launched really kind of quickly. I mean, you can literally go from idea to launch in like 2 days, right? If you're sitting there and you're like, all right, I've got this program idea. This is really great. Okay, shit, what am I going to do? Great. Follow those 7 steps, go and do your social media posts, quickly go and write up a sales page and get it out there. Get it out there as quickly as you possibly can. Now, you might it might take a week for you to get all the collateral together, for you to get your payment stuff sorted, for you to get, which is easier than what you think, get your social media graphics done, get your sales page done. You can literally get all of that done in between 2 days and 7 days. Right? It doesn't have to be super convoluted. You don't have to have big fancy funnels set up. You don't have to have amazing graphics. You don't go and pay a graphic designer. Like, you can do all of this stuff yourself, literally like with a PayPal me link and a page that has all of the information and then just sends them through to the payment link, right? You don't have to have all of the things in place in order for you to be able to make sales. My best advice I can give you is to, when you've got this idea, when you've followed those 7 steps and you're like, okay, great, act on it really quickly. It's a little bit like what Elizabeth Gilbert talks about in her TED Talk, the genius within, or something like that. And it's where, the ideas will come through, and if you're not quick enough to kind of grab those ideas, they'll wander off through the universe, or through the airwaves, if you like. The intuition waves. It'll go and gift that idea, or go and gift itself to someone else, and then you'll see their launch and you'll be like, oh my God, that was my idea. I was just too slow. And I think that's really devastating. So make it happen really fast. Take action on it. Honor the ideas that you have come through. Now, some of the ideas that I have come through, I'll sit and go through this process and I'm like, what do you want to call it? And I'll call it something. It's like, how much you want to price it at? And I'll sit and work out. And sometimes I'm just, once that initial thing is out of me, it's like I've given birth to it. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that was kind of fun to sit in that process, but I don't think I want to do it. I don't think I want to run it. I don't think I want to launch it. And that's okay. You don't have to run with every idea, but make a decision on it quickly. Are you going to run with it? Yes. Are you not going to run with it? Okay, cool. That's fine. Move on, go and get ready for the next idea that's going to come through. Just make sure you're not self-sabotaging. Yeah. Because that can be the big reason why things don't work. So on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you because I've got to go and get some painting done. I've spent the whole entire morning at the hairdresser's trying to get my hair right. Topic for another day. So if you want more help with this kind of stuff, then we have got Visible Live happening next week. I'm so excited. It's about 7 sleeps away. It's happening next Thursday and next Friday, the 17th and the 18th of June. And we're going to spend 2 whole days mapping out your content for the entire next 12 to 18 months. It's going to be fabulous. We are virtual because Victoria sucks. So Victoria the state, that is, not Victoria the person. Victoria the state sucks. And no other state will let me in except the Northern Territory, which I was not planning on visiting anyway. So Visible Live is happening virtually to ensure that everybody can come. So if you need to register for that, you'll see the link in the comments. Otherwise, I challenge you to sit down and work out what course you could create. Follow those 7 steps. As I said, I'll get them typed up in the show notes shortly. Otherwise, get out there, go help some people, have a whole ton of fun doing it, and remember that the world is ready for your brand of awesome. Get out there, go kick some ass, my friends, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.